All right. I think we're live. Push 1 in the chat if you can hear me. All right, got a confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 816. Black Politics. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust. If you want to join the panel, there'll be a link in the chat. It's a Zoom link. Make sure you update your Zoom client before joining. Give folks a couple seconds to come in. All right, topic for tonight, the Ice Cube effect. So in the manosphere, there has been a lot of controversy and discussion about Ice Cube as a political influence for Black men. And we talked about this a couple of times before, but I see it keeps coming back up. So I want to make sure that we redress, this narrative that's put out here that Ice Cube is a reflection of Black men trying to push for progress, or Black men that are, trying to be politically engaged. Now, here's why this is a farce, okay? And we've covered this many times before. You can go in the archive and see for yourself how many times we've covered Ice Cube. But I do want to make sure that we're on the record and that we're responding to, the syndicates who want to push Ice Cube as the reflection of Black men in the political climate that we're in right now. So why don't we do this? Why don't we go to Black Gnostic Speaks in his video, okay? Let's listen to what he has to say and what he's posting, and then we'll respond to it accordingly. Let me share my screen, push 1 in the chat if you can see it. All right, let me know if you can see it in the chat. Maybe people can't hear me. Okay, got a confirmation. All right.
Okay. That's an expert in the field and, in this kind of stuff, so our own esteemed Dr. Ronald B. Neal. Okay. You've probably seen this before. If you guys are up on the manosphere, you've probably seen this before. And he calls this back in 2020, right before the election. Okay, right before the Trump election. Okay, I mean not Trump election, before Biden got elected, right? The 2020 election, right? He calls this, and listen to what he says. Okay, check. You guys can hear it. Can y'all hear this? I'll make sure that y'all can hear this. Okay. I hear one. Can y'all hear this? Okay.
Know what's going on in the media, all across the internet, all across the news stations, CNN, MSNBC, the newspapers, USA Today, the news magazines, Time Magazine, Newsweek, you name it. You know that Ice Cube has inspired the vitriol, the venom, the ire, the hatred of a good number of people, significant people, people with influence, due to the fact that he sat down with people from the Trump administration to discuss Donald Trump's Platinum Plus plan in conjunction with Ice Cube's creation, the contract with Black America. And as a consequence of Ice Cube sitting down with the Trump administration, white liberals, white leftists, and Black feminists have come for his head. How dare you? How dare you, Black man? How dare you, Ice Cube? Step outside of your lane. Step outside of entertainment. Step outside of your subservient role to the American empire. Step outside of your imagined subservient role within Black America.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. This video is only about 6 minutes, so we're going to play the whole thing because he says it a lot better than I probably can. I probably will expound on it afterwards, but I'm going to let the good Dr. Roll be.
How dare you? And Ice Cube, in the face of an avalanche, a tsunami of criticism, has stood firm. He has stood on principle. He has not folded. He has not surrendered. He has not recanted. He is not apologetic for having met with people from the Trump administration to talk about Black empowerment in general, and Black male empowerment in particular. And Ice Cube, by doing so, took the Black man flag and planted it firmly on 21st century American soil.
Now he called this. Now this is right after the cocktail with Queens, right? When Ice Cube was actually on there. He called this the next day. I remind him of this, okay? You called this the next day. You were the first. That's why I want to highlight this, okay? I want to highlight this. One, I want to highlight this because I want to make a point. Two, I want to give this man his flowers because we don't actually honor our people, our thinkers, our great thinkers enough. And Dr. Ronald B. Neal is one of those great thinkers. Unknown, but one of our great thinkers. And we shuck him off like he's just a teacher. No, he's not. He called this
BMI. And brothers, this is what we call in academia a pedagogical moment. This is a teaching moment to the world. This is a teaching moment to Black men in particular, that it is okay and it is necessary for Black men to stand their ground, for Black men to stand in their principles, for Black men to affirm their interests, for Black men to tell the world that no one owns Black men. We need to declare emphatically to these leftists, to these liberals, and to these feminists that Black men own themselves. We own our thoughts, we own our actions, we own our plans, whatever we do. If we want to do business with the Republicans, we can do that. If we want to do business with these Democrats, we can do that. If we want to meet with the Republican governor, the governor of Georgia, the governor of Mississippi, the governor of Louisiana, the governor of California, it doesn't matter. We have the wherewithal and the agency to do so. And we are doing this in the face of those entities which I've already named, who believe that Black men are inferior, who believe that Black men are subservient, who believe that Black men are, in the words of Dr. T. Hassan Johnson, CompuSerfs. That our demeanor is supposed to be withdrawn and demure, that we are supposed to operate solely as servants, as slaves. But brother, Ice Cube is showing us in a very profound way that we are not slaves, that nobody owns us. Nobody tells us how to think. No one tells us how to behave. No one tells us what kind of politics that we ought to pursue. And because of that, brothers, we need to stand with Ice Cube. We need to stand with Ice Cube and any other black man who dares to go against the majority, who dares to go against the majority consensus about what is regarded as necessary and appropriate for black Americans. Those people who think that they own black people, these people in this Democratic Party who think that black people are children, that black people have to be shepherded, that black people cannot think for themselves. And even beyond that, any other entity that thinks that black people do not have any type of agency, that black men have no agency whatsoever. And we must continue, brothers, to defy anyone, any person, male, female, white, black, Latino, LGBTQ, it does not matter who they are. Anyone who dares to question our ability to advance our interest. Anyone who dares to question our commitments to black empowerment in general and to the empowerment of black men in particular. Let's stand with Brother Ice Cube in this moment, and every other black man. I affirm what Ice Cube has done, and I affirm the principles of black male independence. And anybody who is an enemy of Ice Cube is an enemy of me and is an enemy of black men. BMI, black male independence.
Drop the mic and walk off, brother. Drop the mic and walk off. Drop the mic and walk off. That is what they call a walk-off home run. That is a walk-off home run. Okay? I couldn't say it any better. Now, I'm going to say this as a caveat, okay? As a caveat. My opinions and my sentiments are not a reflection of Dr. Neal and his employer, you know, on his university. So whatever I say is completely independent of what Dr. Neal says, thinks, or his work, okay? In this instance, we agree. And I'm using his as an example of a teaching moment. I'm not saying he's part of the Black Manosphere. I'm not saying that he's associated with me. I just want to make that clear. Anybody listening, okay, trying to link us together? No, he's his own man, I'm my own man, okay? I'm just using him as an example because he called this stuff 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. He called it almost to the day. The Ice Cube effect showed up 2 years later, okay, with Stacey Abrams. And then a sister here in Los Angeles running for mayor.
Karen Bass.
Actually, one mayor.
Karen Bass.
All over LA Times. You couldn't get rid of the Ice Cube effect. You had Tiffany Cross on CNN, right? Talking about us, Kevin Samuels loving, Tariq Nasheed quoting black men, okay? Talking about the Black Manosphere in general and beyond. That refused to get behind Stacey Abrams because Stacey Abrams had a black male problem. It's an Ice Cube effect. They called it the Ice Cube effect. It wasn't. And the thing is you know, this thing about Tucker. Hear about Tucker? See if I can pull him up real quick. So I can pull him up real quick. The thing about Tucker is that they're going in on about Tucker. The thing is, they're missing the point. They're missing the point. They're missing the point about Tucker Carlson and Ice Cube. It's not about that. People think, why are you guys behind him? Why are you guys behind Ice Cube? What is it? Are you guys Republicans? Hell no, I'm not a Republican. Okay, I'm not a Democrat either. I'm an independent, like him, an independent thinker. I am a political agnostic. I don't care. I deal with policy only. That's where I was taught. My mentor, Craig Hewlett, taught us not to be a wingnut, left or right. Policy only. Doesn't matter. I care not who sits on the throne. Okay? Care not who sits on the throne. My policy, my interests matter more to me than who sits on the throne. I had to learn that the hard way. I had to learn that in 92 with Bill Clinton. Care not who sits on the throne. What I care about is interest. What I care about is interest. I don't care who he sits down with. Present. This is him. This is him sitting down in Ice Cube's house. Okay. Tucker Carlson came to visit him. Why? Because he could get an ear. People got mad. Now, we know Ice Cube's not a politician, right? He's not politically savvy like that. Business-wise, he's good. Entertainment-wise, he's good. But this is not his arena. But guess what? He knows how to get people's ears. He knows how to get attention. Okay. And why black men stood behind him. He knows that he heard about the Ice Cube effect. He knows what kind of effect it had in Los Angeles. He knows he saw his name in print in LA Times with this in the political arena. Like what did Doc say? BMI, black male independence. That's what it's about. Who cares who sits on the throne? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who sits on the goddamn throne. At the end of the day, it don't matter. But whether I like Ice Cube or not, he's a decent guy from what all I hear. Never really met the dude, okay? But thing is, he's a decent guy from what I hear. Everybody that I've heard that was around, what the real cause and effects actually are. That's who I am. I did a video yesterday showing that woman talked about let the table go. They were hurt. They tried to work out a deal. She said, hell no, I can't.
So here's the deal. I'm not going to play all of his rant because I find it to be quite comical. But what I will do is we'll play the interaction between Roland Martin and Ice Cube after the election. Okay, let's go to Ice Cube here.
Talk to people who have the power to make things happen. Now, they asked to speak to me so I can explain some of my concepts of the contract with Black America.
Who is they? Was it Donald Trump? Was it his campaign team? Was it officials in the White House? Who's they?
I've never met Donald Trump a day in my life.
Got it.
And I've never been to the White House. Okay. So it was people on his campaign. This chick who put out the tweet, it wasn't her. I never met her either. I don't even know who she is.
Katrina Pearson. You don't know who that is? Never met her.
No, I've never met her.
Okay.
But the thing is this: they looked at the contract with Black America and they saw that their plan was lacking, and they wanted to implement some of the things from the contract with Black America into their plan. And I said, you're welcome to do it. And I would say the same thing to the Biden campaign. They're welcome to do it. Some great ideas. I haven't, seen too many people disputing the contract with Black America. Everybody understand that it's needed and it's necessary. So I don't mind anybody in the public sector or in the private sector using parts of it, asking me about it, asking for me to understand, what am I talking about when it comes to trying to not count us as minorities, but to count us as, pretty much a protected race. And so I think we're being buried under a lot of words like minority and people of color and things like that. Now, their plan is still their plan. It's not my plan. Their plan, like all of them, don't go far enough. All of them can be better, but these are just the facts of what happened. This is the Biden campaign basically said, you know, we love 85% of your plan, but we want to talk after the election. That's fine. I'm willing to talk after the election. I just think both sides of the aisle need to take this serious.
So what's in their plan that they actually took from yours? Because I've gone through their plan line by line. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't see what's in their plan they released. It even mirrors what's in yours.
Well, like I said, you know, both plans between both parties are lacking. So, you know, this is what they did. You know, you have to look at the contract with Black America and see where the overlap is. But, you know, the thing that what I try to make them understand is, you know, they have programs, and both parties have programs that are built for minorities and people of color and diversity and urban and these words that don't include us, because they include us, but we only get a small portion most of the time of these programs. So we have to train all politicians that we are Black people, Black Americans, most of them, and I'm specifically talking about the descendants of slavery. And we have to be dealt with, our concerns have to be rectified as that, and not as a blanket thing with all other minorities. That puts us under 100% of the population here. And I don't know if we can ever get up out of that.
But with your contract, it lists these 13 different points here. And again, in their plan, what do you see in the Platinum plan they released that mentions that mirrors anything that's in yours?
You know, you got, you know, if I'm looking at it.
I'm sorry, I have to laugh because what you all are not understanding here is this. Ice Cube didn't do his homework, okay? And you got three-letter guy here saying he stands with Ice Cube. Didn't do his homework, and neither did the three-letter guy, okay? Neither one of them did their homework. Neither did the PhDs, or the PhD, I should say. Didn't do their homework, but get behind him, but won't support Gary Chambers. Just think about that. Gary Chambers is running for office. Don't support Gary Chambers, but support Ice Cube, who's not running for office, but has a plan that didn't do the research on his own to compare to the Platinum plan that was a one sheet of paper from Trump that basically was a carbon copy of the Congressional Black Caucus that they stole from and then pretended as if this was progress. This is what passes as intellectualism, Black male independence in the manosphere. BMI. Body mass index, Black male independence. This is what passes as intellectualism and agency in the Black manosphere. But then people want to pretend like, oh, you guys always are bullying and beefing with people in the manosphere. No, we're not. We're taking straight from the horse's mouth. Both horses, for that matter. Okay? This horse and this horse. They both said, you know, you got one guy who stands with it in the space, and you got another guy who hasn't even done his own research on his own plan. And this is what Black men are supposed to get behind. That this is somehow the future of progress for Black male agency. Come on. Let me finish playing this.
Agreeing to direct VC money to Black investment companies up to $40 billion.
See, a lot of people have been talking about this $500 billion. That's not going to Black people. In fact, That's just actually the infrastructure funding program. That's not actually $500 billion going to black people. And then when they say,
well, how many billion is the other one given to black people?
No. That's not. No, I'm saying is that's not even. They list this thing under Black economic empowerment and access to capital. It says seek infrastructure funding that will lead to widespread growth in the annual $500 billion federal contracting opportunities. Even that line right there is not for black people. That's federal contracting opportunities for everybody. So that's not. So they're trying to make it sound like, oh, $500 billion to black people. It's not. That's the actual annual program overall for everybody.
Yeah, I understand what you see in that, but it's really up to us to try to direct that money to black people.
Right. But there's a difference.
If we're not in contact or not talking to a certain administration, because we're on another team and they win, then what do we do? Just sit back and wait?
Oh, no.
For years?
No. I agree with you 100% on that because
all of them got flaws in their plan. All of them got holes in their plan. Like I said, they put out this stuff, not me.
Right. I'm just trying to find
and told them what I think. And so from there, they ran with it and did what they wanted to do with it. That's not really my concern. My concern more is making sure that both of these candidates understand that this money has to be directed to black people. It's a lot of language in both plans that are iffy, tricky, and are there really to make sure we don't get the money. So it's really up to people to engage and make sure that money go where it's supposed to go. But, I agree. We've been lied to for a long time, for 400 years or more. And so, one thing I know is we have to do something different. And, one thing is never being too one-sided, hard-headed, proud to speak to whoever's in power. Every great man in the world has spoke to somebody in power at some point in time, whether they agree with them or not. Listen.
Right.
So for me, I told everybody what I was going to do, and I did it. And, they exploited it. But if I would have, did something for Biden, they would have exploited it too. So that's just part of the game. The thing is this. The thing is to get movement. The thing is to make sure that we move the needle no matter who's elected.
I agree.
Our program has to be pushed through. So non-dialogue to me is
No. Here's the deal.
How you do it.
Here's the deal, Cube. I'm not against dialogue. I sat in 2 meetings with Trump and with other television anchors as well. I've been challenging them. Well, I want you to come talk to black media. I know of other African Americans who've been meeting with them on PPP, on other issues as well. The thing for me is this here. I judge folks on what you do. And what I look at is Donald Trump goes to Atlanta, makes this big old announcement about his platinum plan, and I'm sitting there going. So, for instance, I'll pull it up. When I see this plan, and then I see in here where he goes, make Juneteenth a national holiday. Well, first of all, that could have happened in July, but Senator Rob Johnson of Wisconsin still have been blocked in the Senate. Donald Trump said nothing, tweeted nothing, did nothing.
How many times have we talked about this? In fact, I was on Art Newstall's last night on his open panel, and I said Republicans were blocking black initiatives in public policy. And people said, stop blaming Republicans. Well, there you go right there. Ron Johnson, Rand Paul, Tom Cotton. The list I can just keep going on and on and on. But in the manosphere, you're not allowed to talk about Republicans. You can only talk about Democrats. And so what you have in the platinum, in the Contract of Black America is a leftist document that's supposed to move the needle for black people, and black men such as this guy here wants to get behind this fool here to push an initiative that the whole manosphere claims to be against in the first place. Make it make sense. And now you got the same guys who want to back Ice Cube talking about supporting Dr. Cornel West, who is an ultra leftist, supports all of the LGBTQ that they can't stand, but they want to get behind him anyways and write him in on a ballot in a state that they don't even know if he's on the ballot to begin with. This is the lunacy that passes as intellectual thought in the manosphere. BMI, black male independence, independent to, to do what? I have no idea. Who are you talking to? How are you pushing your 17-point agenda? How come no one's talking about the Gray Faulkner Initiative? All this support for Ice Cube and no support for the Gray Faulkner Initiative? Why aren't we propping this up? Why isn't that being shown every week? Make it make sense.
He said in here also about the anti-lynching bill. Same thing. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky stood up, blocked it in the Senate. Donald Trump said nothing, did nothing. He in here talks about.
For those who don't know, the anti-lynching bill would have protected somebody like George Floyd. Well, I mean, sorry, not George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. Would have protected him. Because what happened to Ahmaud Arbery was a lynching. Not with a noose, but with a shotgun. The point of the matter here is the very policies that would have been in Black people's best interest, especially Black men, were being blocked by Republicans. But you're telling me that Ice Cube talking to the MAGA administration is somehow a victory by planting his flag somehow, some way in the 21st century. No, you can't make this up, man.
Prosecute the KKK and Antifa. Hell, when they had the debate with Joe Biden, he tried to shut Joe Biden down when he was quoting Christopher Wray, the FBI director, who said the greatest threat of terrorism in America is white domestic terrorism. But the thing is,
but you let some content creators in this space they'll tell you that the biggest threat to Black men isn't white supremacy, it's the gynocracy. And stand right behind Ice Cube. Can't make this up.
I was sitting here, and again, I looked in May. No, hold on one second. But no, here's my point. In May, when the Biden.
Hold on one second. Rome says, who here has promoted it? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Please expound on your comment.
Biden this is what it's called, the Lift Every Voice, the Biden Plan for Black America. I went through the entire plan and broke it down. Then I went through the Trump Platinum Plan and broke it all down. The issue for me is that when it comes to Trump's plan, there's no specificity. There just simply isn't. Even when you talk about programs, I will say when I go through Biden's program, when he's talking about state small business credit initiative, expand new markets tax credit, improve and expand the SBA programs that most effectively support Black-owned businesses, and laying things out that are specifics. That's the deal. I'm looking at a 22-page plan from Biden and a 1-page plan for Trump, and I'm sitting there going, and I went through Trump's plan. I'm like, there's nothing there. It's a lot of words. Not really, because it's only 1 page. But the deal is, I'm like, dude, you've been the president. You want to make this whole deal how you ushered in economic prosperity, which really all started under Obama beginning in 2010. But it is lacking. Do you believe that the Trump campaign greatly overstated your involvement for the purpose of them being able to say, we have attached ourselves to Ice Cube? Did you believe that you were used politically for their purposes as opposed to really what happened?
Look, I knew whoever I engaged with would use that politically. I don't care about that part. The part I care about is getting something done. Look, my plan is called the Contract with Black America. So all of them lacking when it comes to that. So that's what I'm pushing. So anybody who's going to implement those plans into their plan, then I'm going to take a look at it. But both plans are lacking, and that's why we become educated voters for real, and then you pick who you want to pick. But at the end of the day, for us not to engage with both sides of the aisle to fix this, which I think is an American problem, that to me ain't going to help us in the end. What's going to help us is once we, realize how much power we have. Now, you said that, of course, Trump didn't stop all these things or didn't mention these things. Okay, maybe it was before he knew he needed the Black vote as much as he do. You never know. This is what deals are made of. So I don't know what they're gonna do.
No. That's actually that's not the case. And hold on. I can tell you personally. No. Hold up. You said before you the black vote. I just want to just correct something, Ice Cube. I'm gonna let you finish. I just want to correct something. I met with the White House in 2018. They told me directly in 2018, we think we can get 20% black male support in the 2020. So it didn't. They were fully aware of that.
Why'd you meet with him? Why'd you meet with him?
I'm a journalist.
Why'd you meet with him?
I'm a journalist.
What'd you meet with him to talk about?
I'm a journalist. I met with them to talk about public policy issues, to ask them those various questions.
Public policy issues, and their thing was to get 20% of the vote.
No, right.
Okay.
They said no, not 20% of the vote.
Did they think they was going to get that for free?
Right. This is what they said. They said they believe they could get 20% of the black male vote, and they specifically said they were going to use criminal justice reform and economic policies
Why
as
did they
rate.
think they can get 20% of the black male vote? Why do they think that?
Because people like you and the rest of the manosphere guys are so gullible that they'll jump on any white man's Johnson just to be a part of their movement. That's why they thought that. And you see it reflected in the manosphere last night on Art's panel and every single week in the manosphere as a whole. That's why they think they can get 20%. Political ignorance at its finest. But if we call it out, we're haters. If Roland calls it out, he's a shill for the Democratic Party. If Republicans think it, then everybody jumps on board with it. Yo, you can't make this up, man.
Because they said they think that they can appeal to disaffected black men. They point blank, they know black women don't like them.
Why can they appeal to that demographic? Who's not appealing to that demographic? How can they swoop in and get it?
Who?
That should have been covered.
What do you mean?
This is what I'm asking. How can they swoop in and get something that's supposed to be covered?
Well, first of all, that's not the case because in 2012, between Obama and Romney, there was a 9-point gap between black men and black women who voted for Obama and Romney. In 2013, with Trump and Hillary Clinton, that expanded to 13%. Now, when you look at 2020, they believe that, we think there's an opportunity here for us to be able to appeal to black men on economic policies because they say black women can't stand it.
Yeah, because that's the Ice Cube effect. Remember this guy just said that? It's the Ice Cube effect. That's why they think they can get 20%. But this guy here wants to get behind this guy here. He doesn't even understand it. If he doesn't even understand his own Ice Cube effect, how can you even crown it and brand it as the Ice Cube effect? Make it make sense, man. Ice Cube doesn't even know that. Doesn't even know what's in his own contract with Black America, but you want to get behind him and say that, you stand with him. All right, man.
What's not being done for black men in this country that the number's growing?
Because first of all, because the difference between black men and black women, black men are more likely to be.
Why don't the
wait, hold up. You asked the question, I'm gonna answer it. Because this is from focus groups, from polling data. Black men are more appealed by Trump's anti-immigration position than black women. That's one. That's one of the issues there. One of the issues that we also see is that we've seen where black men feel as if the Democrats have appealed more to black women than black men. Thirdly, Donald Trump, by touting the First Step Act, saying he got criminal justice reform done and Democrats didn't, which is actually a lie. The mistake that Democrats have made is they haven't taken credit for the First Step Act because if the Democrats don't pass it in the House, it actually don't get done. And so they see an opportunity to be able to target black men who are disaffected by both parties by appealing to their pocketbooks, their 401ks, by using tax policy, and that's what their strategy is.
So what's the Democrat strategy to target black?
He talks just like a manosphere. He talks just like a manosphere panelist. Well, what about the Democrats? Well, what about Biden? What about Kamala? What about this? What about Maxine Waters? What about Clyburn? What about this? What about that? The whataboutism. It's always this whataboutism. That's the mindset that these guys are attracted to. The whataboutism, the Ice Cube effect, the cowardice is really what it's about.
men.
And that's one of the things that I've been challenging them on as well, by saying, when you have a problem, when you see 9 points in 2012 to go to 13 points in 2016, and it might go to 20, you got a problem. So you better focus on that and shore it up, which means you better speak to those issues, speak to those men, having those surrogates doing it, but also speaking to the policies. I've been covering this very issue when it comes to these black men for months. Now, Democrats haven't done it. Now, folks are sort of trying to pay attention now. But I actually was talking to Tom Perez and the DNC about this 4 years ago. So I gotta ask you this shit too, because on that particular point there. So I got an email from someone, and they said, why is Ice Cube only talking about this contract now? So the person wanted me to ask, where was Ice Cube doing the primary? Where is he in 2018? How do you answer people who say that?
I was actually just, being an artist, rapping, thinking all this stuff was covered, thinking people that actually was in power, was out doing their job, making sure they had something specifically for black people to win. And when I looked up, I realized all this stuff is not specifically for black people. It's for minorities. It's for people of color. It's for everybody but us. So, I had to kind of take it upon myself to do something that was strictly for black people and write something up with some very smart, educated people and come up with a plan. It all happened after George Floyd was killed. So that's where I've been. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have to do it if it was being done.
But actually,
where has this contract been? Since the 60s. Since the 60s, we've had over 7,000. Hello?
No. You're on. Go ahead. I'm listening. You're on.
Since the 60s, we've had over 7,000 black people elected in office in high positions throughout this country. Over 7,000. And we haven't moved an inch. So don't ask me where have I been. The question is, where the hell are you at?
Well, here's the deal, though. I want on that particular point, I want to bring in Alicia Garza, co-founder of Black Voters Matter. She also is with the Black Futures Lab. Q, you may not be aware of this. You may be aware. They put out this massive Black Census project. They surveyed, if I'm correct, Alicia, some 30,000 African Americans. They put this whole thing together. How long did it take? When did y'all release this, Alicia?
We released it in 2019.
So Cube, here was this initiative that they put together, and I would love. And again, when we had you on last time, and Reese was talking about the lack of stuff when it comes to black women, and you said, "Hey, you love to hear from her." I would love for the two of you to actually talk about this, because both of you want to really achieve the same thing, and that is achieve things for black people. And so, Alicia, go right ahead. If you have a question for Ice Cube, Cube, you got a question for Alicia, go ahead.
Hey, Cube, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Good. So, I guess my first question would be, we're in the midst of an incredible movement moment. Folks are all over the country, have been organizing for over 7 years, if not longer, trying to turn Black Lives Matter into a movement that can impact not just protest, but also policy. I did have a chance to read both versions of the contract with Black America, and I'm just curious, are there activists or organizers in this movement that you've been connected to who have been doing some of this legislative advocacy and policy advocacy work?
Yeah, we connected with ADOS, and we helped get a bill passed in California. Governor Gavin Newsom passed AB 3121, which starts the conversation about reparations in California. So we have been connected with, a grassroots organization. We want to connect with as many grassroots organizations who are not connected to any other so-called powers that be, strictly grassroots. And we definitely want to connect with them, people who definitely have no ulterior motives, who really just want to see money get in the hands of the people who built this country and the ancestors and family of the people that built this country.
Do you think that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization? Because I know for the last year, I've been getting death threats. I have security now 24/7 because Donald Trump and his administration has been targeting me and Patrice and Opal and thousands of other activists across the country. I understand what you're saying about trying to talk to the people in power, but I think there is a difference here in terms of who we align ourselves with. And I can't at all say that I take a neutral stance here. You haven't endorsed Donald Trump explicitly, but I am just curious about how you meet those things and how you match those things. How do you put forward a Black agenda with a president that is attacking Black people, attacking Black organizers, attacking Black activists, and literally daring and threatening to throw us in jail for the organizing that we've been doing?
Well, I mean, both candidates, have their record of what they've done to Black people. You can look at them and see them out. I don't think Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. So that's what I think. What the president think about Black Lives Matter, that's his personal problem. Right now we feel
that's not even the point. Because and the president did at the time did use DHS and other agencies to attack Black protesters during the George Floyd moment. How would you think that you would be able to get across a contract with Black America with a president who is using all forms of agency to attack Black people peacefully demonstrating? How did you think that was going to go down? The optics here, not being conscious of the optics, is why she's asking this question. How logical would it be to shop a contract of Black America to a president, an administration that is hostile to Black people's interests? He didn't even call George Floyd's family to say condolences, but he was willing to back his people legally and financially if they get caught out there punching Black men in the face. Just think about that. Remember the Black man that got punched in the face at the Trump rally? And Trump said, I will pay your legal fees? Remember that? Remember when Trump took out that 5-page campaign, smear campaign ad against the Central Park Five? See, we forget all of that. But then we want to bring up Biden's 94 crime bill. But then you want to shop your contract of Black America with the MAGA administration. That's why she's asking that question. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense as to what you're doing.
Somebody's going to be the president. I would love to work with both parties. I'm not against the Biden campaign or nothing like that. Whoever becomes a president, I would definitely be pushing this program on them. And not only the presidents, but Congress people, senators, private sector, you name it. If you go through the contract, you could probably come up with a list of about 500 companies we can talk to about this situation. So the thing is, what I don't think is healthy for Black people is to automatically jump on one side, and if the other side loses, we just wait for 4 years to engage and hope our side win. It's time for us to let both sides understand this is a bipartisan issue like anything else going.
But that's not how politics works. They're not waiting 4 years, because in between that 4 years, there's something called a midterm. And in that midterm, you elect House, Senate, and potentially city and state reps and council members, aldermen. Okay, they happen within the mid-year cycle or the midterm cycle. And so the misunderstanding and the political ignorance here is that he assumes that Black people are just waiting every 4 years. And in reality, they're not. But that's who, Itmore wants to get behind. Wants to get behind him. BMI, black male independence, more like black male idiocy.
Going on in America.
Cube, I gotta ask you this. I want to ask you this here because you talked about reaching out to people. Did you connect with the Congressional Black Caucus at all? Because they reached out. They reached out after they saw what happened yesterday. They reached out to me. And they sent me this. They sent me this. They sent me. Go to my iPad, guys. Come on. Platinum Plan versus.
See anything?
Okay. No. Right. No. I was talking to the control room. Right. I'm gonna read it to you. Platinum Plan versus Contract with Black America versus CBC legislation. You call for your CWBWA calls for ending qualified immunity, banning chokeholds, and elimination of no-knock warrants. The CBC says all of that is included in the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, but it hasn't been enacted by the folks there in Congress. I mentioned Juneteenth, the federal holiday. The same thing about anti-lynching law. Your contract calls for baby bonds of $1,000 for all new babies. The CBC says that's in their CBC's Jobs and Justice Act. You proposed a plan for neo-reconstruction. The CBC said we gave President Trump a 125-page detailed plan to do this in 2017. 4 years later, we've seen nothing. And according to the CBC, and I want you to respond to this here. According to the CBC, you propose a one-time interest-free home loan for qualified Black Americans. The CBC says, quote, this plan only addresses access to a loan for certain Black people. It does not address necessary relief provisions to prevent foreclosures and expand forbearance for homeowners. But the CBC Jobs and Justice Act does. And so what the Congressional Black Caucus says is the things that you're saying that these things have not been done, have not been focused on, they say it has been done. It's literally in our bills. They simply were.
So to the chat room, Alonzo Hall and we here. That's why they did not meet with him. They had already pushed this legislation at the beginning of the Trump administration. What sense would it make to meet with Ice Cube on his contract of Black America when the majority, 80% of what he pushed was already legislated within the Congress by the Congressional Black Caucus themselves? Are you hearing me? Are we paying attention here? There's no reason to meet with him if 80% of what they've done has already been met. They've already met that agenda. They've already submitted it to Trump, and Trump did nothing about it. So why would you think that they would meet with Ice Cube, who wants to meet with, allegedly, who wanted to meet with Trump? Come on, make it make sense. I'm gonna drop the link, actually. Let me drop the link because we don't need to go through all of this anymore at this point. Anybody who wants to come up here and defend Buddy can come up here and defend him. Ice Cube effect. You kidding me? Rome, you're welcome to come on the panel. We'll go 30 more minutes. If nobody comes up, then I'll peel up out of here. No, in theory, you can come on the panel too. We here. Let's go with it, bro.
Yeah, it's not the point that I'm trying to defend Biden or defend Trump, but like I said, he did present it to both. Trump was the only one that tried to speak with him. And from what you were saying, that it was already in the Congress and they already, most of the stuff that Ice Cube was talking about, it was already presented.
It was already pushed into, it was already submitted into legislation.
Okay, so if it was submitted into legislation, why couldn't he have the talk with him?
What would you be talking about?
I mean, the stuff is already submitted in legislation, so Cool. So what's the next step? What basically
Right.
in more or less terms, he was just basically presenting what was already pushed in legislation and figuring out how can we work together. That was the main reason for the,
What would they be working
besides the
together
thing-
on though? What would they be working together on?
So in that aspect, right, I completely understand where you're coming from. Like 80% of what we're proposing is already there. But there is the matter of that additional 20% that isn't. Now, what you're asking for and what we need to do a better job of as Black men, because the questions that he's asking are simply how we're going to be able to get the results we want. We have to have these difficult questions asked to us so that we can answer them as Black men, right? Mm-hmm. So what he's asking us is, okay, what was there to talk about? If 80% of it is done, you don't go ask for the 80% again. So what we need to do is hyper focus on that 20%. And from the reality of it, I don't think Cube may be that person that we lean on for a multitude of reasons. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I was saying was that as Black men, if we are going to start rallying behind someone, let's make sure they have an actual moniker that's not cheesy bread, right? So that we can be taken seriously in these arenas. That's probably another reason that, logically you would say, well, hey, 80% of what you want is already here. Why should we meet with you for the other 20%? And, that is a logical question. But what is that other 20% that we're not focused on? I don't know what that is personally.
But that 20%, but the 20% doesn't matter if the 80% can't get across the board. Can't get across the board because Trump and the administration had ignored it.
Hey, but even with good faith, that's what I was saying in the comment, that they sit there and listen them out. Okay, well, we're not going to deal with this. We're not going to touch this, but nice for having this conversation. They exactly to their words said, we'll deal with you after we get elected. They got elected, Biden got in office, and what happened?
Because to lift every voice that was already proposed, that Cube said, he had read over, that was already in there long before the contract with Black America.
Well, can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
So when Roland asked him, what was sort of like a variation, like between Contract for America, Black America, and the Platinum Plan, right? And he kind of actually struggled to say something.
He didn't read it complex. That's the part that I'm trying to get.
No, Mike. That's. So let's go here. Here. It's hard for a politician to take you serious when you don't really actually have any, like you can't say it. What is it? What? It's just like, well, Black people have been treated bad. Okay, all right.
Well, because his argument is that he didn't see Black in it. So he didn't think that those initiatives would benefit Black people. And if it did, Black people would get the crumbs. But how would you know that? How would you know that? You haven't even read it. You haven't read your own plan.
Hence the question that Roland asked.
Go ahead. I'll let Complex go.
No, I was just saying, hence the question that Roland asked him. He's like, well, what's the difference? Like, is there something in yours that's not in this? And he couldn't say anything. So it's kind of like, okay, did you not read that one, or did you basically write the same thing that's in that one? Which one?
And being fair, like, honestly, can we even think that Cube would have read it, or he had somebody read it over for him and they just explained it as, I mean, come on, this guy's an artist, entertainer. I don't even trust most of those guys to present anything to me, let alone try to be in politics. I mean, even with what's his name? Killer Mike down here in Atlanta, all that boasting and stuff he was doing and trying to push different positions in the races and everything. He fell back the same way. I mean, come on. Like he's pushing whatever is clever for his people and try to, push the party that's going to help him out some way or another as well. I mean, Cube, he got in this position. He's a face. They need it, but the people who actually really know these policies need to step up or be with him and go in more detail and explain. And see, that's the thing.
Gentlemen, can we make a pact here today?
Say that again, Alonzo.
I said, gentlemen, can we make a pact here today?
as Black men moving forward, one of the things that, inside of STEM or outside of just STEM, we need to promote for more young Black men who are going the collegiate route to get into political science, so that we do have people who are adept at these things, right? Because look, none of us are politicians. We might be well versed in it, but just like in, being the best fry cook at McDonald's, there's some nuances that people who don't actually fry the fries don't know about. So,
well, Alonzo, as businessmen, though, you and I, just a question, and I want you to continue, but check this out. As businessmen, right? Do you want to go speak to an entertainer about the policies and the politics that affect your business, or do you want to talk to the actual politician? Which one?
I want to talk to the politician.
Okay, go ahead, continue.
Listen, today, ironically enough, and I'm going to drop the video, I was out speaking with the mayor of my town because in my city there's a homeless population, and I don't particularly like it because I spend a lot of money for where I live, right? But it's crazy because the people who are homeless were yelling at him like, we need jobs and you guys are this. And I'm like, well, you guys kind of got to vote and this, that, and the third. Oh, you sound like a politician. Well, that's because my annual income is $150,000 a year and I got to come outside and smell your stinking ass in front of my fucking house. But, saying those things isn't the most politically correct thing. So there's also the aspect of, for example, me living here in Connecticut, I live in a city of haves and have-nots. So I definitely see in one of the richest city or state in the country, these disparities, right? And in seeing these things, a lot of that comes from that mindset of not even wanting to hear it. Right? Like Mike said, how can they take you seriously when they know you haven't even read what's proposed to you? Right? So you don't even know what I have in the plan, like the Lift Every Voice plan. Right? But I think in Cube's defense, what it was this. And this is where a lot of the manosphere card carrying members are coming from, and some of the quasi-conservatives. So you heard specifically things for LGBTQ, right? It specifically mentioned LGBTQ. We heard specifically the Asian hate crime bill, right? We even heard specifically the HPI, the Hispanic Prosperity Initiative. So that's where you have a lot of people clamoring, well, hey, we didn't hear anything at all for Black people. Even if it's just the Stomp on Negro's Neck bill, there wasn't anything, right? So maybe
there was My Brother's Keeper under Obama, right? And we know what happened with that. So
knock that out.
Okay. So it's not as if that hasn't been the case, because when you name those off, I was waiting for you to say My Brother's Keeper.
Well, let's let Renaissance Man get in.
Yeah, and Ren's here. What's up? What's going on, Ren?
Hey, what's up, panel?
What's going on, bro?
What's up, brother?
What's going on?
No, I was gonna say, kind of a PSA. Like, people have to stop thinking that if you want to create change for Black America, that the first thing you need to go do is, go visit with the president. And that's what I kind of found ironic with these people who claimed, be against the establishment and things like that. When you truly look at people who have that philosophy, they very much have a grassroots, ground up philosophy. They, part of the reason that they have a problem with the establishment is they basically believe, hey, it's not really responding to the needs of the people on the ground. But yet one of the first moves that you see from a lot of people is they want to go, go to the White House. And I'm just like, the president doesn't have legislative authority. He does not have financial authority. At best, he might be able to pass something through an executive order, but you run the risk of that always getting sued in the courts.
Supreme Court action as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, you run that risk sort of like with Biden's student loan type of deal. So, if people are really serious about change, honestly, you need to really start with, your governors and your mayors and people like that. And so I always find it interesting, that these people who say, well, black men don't get anything. And it always seems to be around election time, and you don't really see that energy. I will give Killer Mike, even though I disagree with some of his stances, that he at least saw the value in, getting involved in the governor's race. Granted, I don't think supporting Brian Kemp was the best thing for black men. So he at least seemed to get that. But a lot of times when we get these things, it's, people want to go have a photo op, a couple weeks or a couple months before the election. It's just like, where were you in the primaries? Where were you in the midterms? Where were you when people were talking about electing their mayors? Were you when they were talking about the governors? So
he's in California. He's in California. Why didn't he link up with the mayor of Stockton, California, Mike Tubbs?
Yeah.
Youngest black man to be a mayor in the country.
Yeah, and I think one of the first to institute a UBI. That was prior to the pandemic.
And they used that UBI program to throw him out of office. But see, nobody wants to actually have that conversation.
And I believe a conservative got in office, or at least a Republican got in office too.
Yeah, they used a smear campaign that the UBI program was being, mishandled and whatnot, and the metrics said otherwise. But that's what I'm trying to get guys in the manosphere to understand. It's a difference between Cube and actual elected officials. When you have somebody like Gary Chambers who's actually campaigning on the very things that Cube is proposing, nobody backs him up, but everybody wants to back up Cube. Makes no sense to me.
But like I said, it's coming from an entertainer standpoint. I mean, we've all known that entertainers kind of do certain things and get people riled up, but the politics of it is not there. I mean, that's the main thing that I'm saying. Okay, he becomes the face of it, and then you have the people that really get involved. I mean, even with Roland to a degree, him sitting down with Cube, having a conversation, Roland already know what he's about. I mean, but a situation where Roland steps in, have somebody come in with an elected official and they get stuff done, that's the key thing versus Cube trying to make it be about him and this is his plan. No, you're the face of it and have other people come in. I mean, even with Killer Mike, the only reason I think personally he went with Kemp due to the fact that it was a shoe-in for him to win, and damn near know he's going to win. Then when the next election roll around and I kind of work with him, I'm getting more stuff pushed to a point where he get ready to get out the door. I've already established myself within the party, established myself in my state. So therefore, when I promote this next candidate, people are going to be on board with me. And then also I'm going to get things pushed because they know I have a little weight to push around here. And see, Cube, he was only just coming in, being the face, but he kind of wanted to present himself more than just the face. But like you said, he didn't even read none of the documents. I mean, the whole thing is audible. You can have somebody got them read the junk while you're driving at least, or have somebody read it while you're, doing whatever and just listening to the policy and trying to gather things in and take notes. He wasn't even ready for that whole interview. But but the thing, like I'm saying, just real quick, going back into it, only reason I say that between Biden, at least Biden could have had the common courtesy to sit down with the man, knowing that all the stuff was pushed. Okay, let's listen to you. Okay, you're not saying nothing, not doing nothing but push you out. You want the black vote, but then you don't want to deal with certain black people that can push you into that high demographic. I mean, both of them on both sides are bad, but the point of it is the lesser two evils.
What benefit does it serve to Biden to sit down with Cube, though?
Well, what benefit did it then not to sit down with him?
Possibly to capture more market share of that black male vote.
By dealing with him. But the point of it is, even to the point of him saying that we're not going to talk to you unless we win, that furthermore is like,
who told him that?
Who told him that? Again, he got 89% of the vote, so he didn't really, there's no incentive to sit with him.
Whoa, wait a second. Who told Cube that we won't sit down and talking to you until we win? Who told him that?
Biden administration.
I haven't seen that printed anywhere.
I think what they're trying to refer to is that they said that they would talk after the election was over.
After the election.
Yeah, they said after the election.
Yeah, because because the thing here is, if you don't win, you can't really pass anything anyways. And plus,
That's
his contract of Black America was already on the website. So if they needed to consult whatever it is that he proposed, that's easily accessible on the website. His website is not even up anymore.
But I mean, I guess I think people have this idea that it sort of goes back. It's almost kind of like a slap in the face, kind of a backhanded slap in the face to Black folks. That a sit down, because I mean, okay, say Biden administration does meet, or say Trump went with them. Like a meeting doesn't really mean anything. Like it's a photo op.
It's
like,
the Rooney Rule in football.
Yeah, it's a photo op. So I mean, the fact that people think that that's like actual political capital is, once again, I think people have to understand, like, you need to see something proposed in Congress. Mm-hmm. You need to see people basically whipping votes, really having the actual votes in place if you're actually serious about this. I mean, there seems to be this sort of idea that, well, if I just go talk to the other side, then, the people on my own party who I feel like are taken for granted are going to come and talk to me. And I'm saying that's not how politics works. That if you look at, say, Trump supporters, the Tea Party, they basically within their own party galvanized and their own base and basically said, hey, people who are not on board, like we're essentially going to vote you out of office. And that's what you saw with Boehner. Well, he retired, but Boehner, Eric Cantor, these established Republican politicians, basically the base voted them out and put new people in. Yet people are talking about switching parties here. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, that's my point, that getting behind Ice Cube is seen as some, like Rome said in the chat, he says, Dems fumbled the Cube situation from an opposite point of view. But did they really? Did they really fumble?
Well, so here's the thing. Politics, realistically, is, for most Americans, a court of public opinion, right? Most Americans vote based on emotion, how the politician makes you feel. Oh, he makes me feel tingly about the crime and he's going to be tough on crime. That's why Big Mama and, a certain sector of the community has voted a certain way for a certain amount of decades, right? And that's why you have quote unquote political leaders who can come out every time a gunshot is fired and get, raise millions of dollars, because they're playing the political game the way it's supposed to be played, right? Just like I mentioned the other day, when it came time to voting, the first time around, when it was voting for Obama or Romney, I wanted Romney because I sell insurance and he was going to privatize Social Security. That meant for me selling annuities. So it was a greedy thing, because literally that would have personally affected me. But other than that, I don't know that I was with everything else. But I think what most people do is just go in a herd. Hey, listen, my family's done it this way for so many years. I know if I get a cough, I just take some Robitussin, right? Well, Robitussin don't work no more. It's not even 2023, it's 3033. Robitussin, we discounted 100 years ago, but we're still playing politics the old way, right?
But Alonzo, I would ask you, like, in that analysis, like what is people's alternatives? Because people push that narrative. I'm like, okay, like, are we saying like Black America should have supported Reagan? Like, should they sort of supported Bush over Gore? Like, that's where I'm like, people have to put it in the context of that. I mean, should we have supported Nixon over Johnson? Like, people are like, oh, people have been doing this. And I'm like, yeah, I get people say, hey, people have been doing the same thing and they're frustrated with the rate of progress. But we have to put in the context the alternatives.
Right. So grassroots or the local level obviously is the most important. Now, on a grander scale, on something that we can all relate to, which is why we have federal and national things. So Reagan, see, here's the thing. I'm an 80s baby and I'm not against Reaganomics, right? Like, for example, I like, my premium gas guzzling car and my $7 lattes. In order for me to maintain that, I have to understand that my country, my homeland is going to have to do some terrible things to some other people in order for me to keep enjoying my overpriced gas guzzling ass car and $7 lattes. Now, how can I sleep at night with that? And who's going to make me sleep at night with that? Is how I think we should start voting, as opposed to as a monolithic group, because as Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, national, whatever you want to call us, we have no nation state. There's no nation backing us anywhere on this planet.
Well, I mean, Reaganomics was all neoliberalism. I'm surprised that, you know, we would want to get behind something like that. I mean, that's the same thing that put Black men out of work in the first place. But I think in the manosphere, I think the idea of Ice Cube being, this sort of Ice Cube effect, you know, this sort of, busting through and just, going straight to the top and then planting your flag or something like that. I think Black men like this idea of just not having to follow any rules and just do whatever you want and hope that something gets done. In reality, nothing got done. Nothing got done. Black men don't believe in regulatory frameworks. They don't believe in rules. They don't believe in structure. You just look around the manosphere. Just look at the kind of streams that go out on a daily basis. There's everything all over the place. I don't see how these guys, I mean, I understand why they're getting behind Ice Cube, but Ice Cube is not that, he's not that guy. And the Black men that could actually get some things done, Black men don't support them. And then they pretend as if my critique or the Black Brain Trust's critique or MOT's critique or somebody else's critique is seen as hating. Oh, like somebody said in the chat room earlier, low end theory. What did you say?
Like we're bullying or some shit?
Excuse me?
Or like we're bullying or something?
No, he said that, where'd the comment just go? Hold on a second.
But I think
he said that even in disagreement, you have zero substance. You just don't like it. This is a horrible dissection. But is it really? Because I'm not putting words in Q's mouth and I'm not taking anything out of context. These are his words.
Well, Mike, I mean, when Roland Martin asked him that simple question and he didn't have an answer for it, like, are we to blame for that?
That's almost like the whole Sarah Palin, like when they ask her, what do you read? She's like, that's a gotcha question. I'm like that's the media's fault.
That's a gotcha question. Yes.
Like that's my thing is like, if you're talking about being serious about politics, you can't have people who are not informed making decisions that are literally going to affect, generations of your children. Like that's one thing. I mean, hate, love Roland Martin. He tries to emphasize that with voting and judges and Trump judges. He's like, hey, basically, these judges that Trump has appointed on the federal bench, that are 30 something years old are going to be there for the next 40, 50 years. So you're essentially, if you're, in our age demographic, you're talking about your kids and most likely your grandkids who are going to be affected by these decisions. And you just can't have people up there who, have not done the reading or the research. And when you ask them basic questions, they don't have an answer. Or if there's an open debate about things and people can't answer a question, it's like, oh man, you're hating. It's like no, like any sort of proposal you're going to have of substance is going to have to be like debated, and you're going to have to answer questions.
Do you think that that's Black men leaning into fascism? Basically, like, don't question anything I do. Let me just do what I want to do.
I mean, there's an element of that. There is definitely an element of that. Because I mean, like I said, if you're in business, like at some point, if you go raise money from investors, they're going to question your business plan, your business model. And you got to be prepared to answer tough questions. If you're going to run for political office and people want your vote and they're serious voters, they're going to ask you questions and ask, what's your plan to go and deal with this? You'd ask that of anybody who, you want to serve. I mean, you wouldn't want, if your car's having an issue, you take it to a mechanic. You wouldn't want, to give it to a mechanic who, you ask them like, well, hey, does the oil need changing? Or, does the timing belt need changing? And they're like, what's a timing belt? I mean, That's not someone who's going to engender some confidence of, hey, I really want to give my car to this guy and let him go and work on it.
Yeah, I think that there's an element of Black men who just don't want to follow a process. I was listening, actually, we can go to, well, I won't play any more BGS and stuff, but, you know, it was mentioned in his stream that, you know, who cares about the process? Just do something. And that level of thought, yeah, AB Media said that. I'm saying that mentality is pervasive in a lot of Black men in this space. And so when you say, well, you know, Contract of Black America or 17-point agenda, they're always trying to shop it to people that really don't have anything to do with moving the needle on it, but then get mad when people don't take it seriously. And so their frustration becomes rage against anyone who has critique over it, but they still don't understand they don't even care about the process at that point. There's a level of fascism that Black men are just leaning into, and they feel comfortable with it, but they don't get why people don't want to talk to them or want to engage them. And you see it, and I feel like, or at least what I perceive is that I don't think a lot of these guys have ever been in business. I don't think they've ever had to actually uphold anything in front of a group of people and actually have to present it. I think that they're under the impression that they don't have to do anything. Things should just get done because they say so.
Mike, that's literally what they say. That's literally, and I've heard BGS say this like multiple times, right? That's why they use shame, right? I've heard this. Even a few of the PhDs have said that shame works. Sure, whatever. I've heard money talks, right? And typically lobbyists are usually people that get shit done politically speaking, right? In terms of like initiatives or somebody's interest getting executed through policy, right? That's usually how it works. That's my understanding of it. Or bare minimum, like I had to do, engage with my local politicians where they had to see my goddamn face, right?
Yeah.
Just, you know what I mean? Just so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, I was going to say too, maybe that's why they lean into Trump, because I mean, I know you've done pitches before Complex. I've done them as well. Like,
yes.
You literally you're literally, when you're doing something like that, you're literally putting a story together, and then you're just basically open yourself up to be questioned and grilled for, 20, 30 minutes by whoever you're pitching to.
Yeah. You get your shit scrutinized.
Mm-hmm.
You get scrutinized. That's why I'm like, okay, that was basic. That was some softball questions that Roland was tossing at Ice Cube when I had to literally meet with the permitting public what's it called, public permitting or whatever that unit is that handles all the permitting for things in the city, for example. And then when there were like hiccups and hangups, then I had to talk to the city councilman himself and say, hey, they're slow over there. Can you follow up on that? Because I'm guessing that you guys, this isn't a normal thing when people try to start business in your cities. You guys make it hell for them to do so. Yeah, I'm just trying to hope that you guys don't do that. So can you like get on their ass, please? And he did. And this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, man, the far from the truth is nothing but entertainment. I mean, let alone set aside business, just the point of them actually working their jobs. That's it. I mean, the only reason I said about the good faith thing for Biden to actually sit down and talk. I mean, like I said, for one, he automatically said he wasn't going to talk to him after. You kind of want things to kind of work beforehand. So when you're going to put stuff in the law or try to get stuff pushed through the Senate or anything, you're not going to try to push it after, you get your candidate in. You're going to put things in play before the candidate gets elected so you can kind of hold them to certain promises or certain things in which you made agreements on. And they couldn't even agree on anything, but the whole point was having the discussion is the biggest thing, and like you said, I understand that, 80% of that was already, ran down, but like Lonzo we was talking about the 20%, like, even the point of them sitting down and say,
the 20% was not achievable. Let me pull up the document so that we understand what the 20% was.
While you're pulling up the document for the 20%, I want to make an argument towards what you're saying, Mike, because some arguments against it prior actually made some points towards it. So one of the things in terms of taking seriously or putting things into place before things happen, we'll take a look back at, again, the Hispanic Prosperity Initiative. So a large part of the reason that that got passed was because there was an entire conglomerate behind that initiative. So there were obviously lots of possible lobbying dollars, right? Because it was Goya. It wasn't just some Spanish musician. It was Goya, right? That came and said, hey, listen, we will consider getting you a large percentage of the Hispanic vote if, what's going on, Greg? If you put this law in place, right? Now, well, what Ice Cube we got was, hey, what's going on, brother? Some rich nigga is basically what they see, wants to do something. This rich nigga ain't got not enough money to even attempt to lobby against us. So no, we're not going to pay this shit any attention. Versus, again, an entire conglomerate, which is Goya. So as black men, we have to control an industry.
I was going to say, like, Goya is like a huge food conglomerate.
That's what I'm saying. So as black men, we have to control a fucking industry. Nobody's going to listen to Ice Cube. Right? So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Cube had really nobody backing him but just the black people, and dollars matter. I mean, politicians get bought all the time. People lobby and put stuff in pockets to know. At the end of the day, like I said, if Cube was the face, as what's his name, Killer Mike did, but he also had people behind him that kind of express things more thoroughly than just him standing up there saying, take your grandma's money and go get a black bank. No, he's saying get the black bank, but also worry about who's in office and who's doing this, and local within the police. You start at home and you spread abroad. Don't go straight to the president. Start locally, like you guys were saying about the guy, you know, that was coming in first in California.
Well, Mike, you know, that's exactly what Killer Mike did. You know, he kind of got active being a voice, but the same people that was behind him are the people that he started that bank up with just recently. Yeah, that's the same people.
Let me pull this up right here. So bullet point 13 and where's the other one? Let me see if I can type it in. It's
I was going to say real quickly too, while you're doing that, Mike, to Complex's point, also Andrew Young was involved in Greenwood Bank. So Killer Mike even got some of the old guard involved.
He had to. So number 4 and number 13 are the two items that he could not.
Speaking of banks, brothers, we do know that the AKAs just opened their digital bank, right?
Exactly.
What about it?
I'm just saying, as far as achievements, the first fraternal bank that's a credit union that's all digital was opened by the AKAs. So they ski-weeing all up in this piece, but you know, we got alphas, we got, you know,
Qs,
Kappas and all this other
Kappas.
stuff, Qs. You know,
you had a sorority come over. I mean,
and we
even
had a
with
sorority
that, they
come
jumped on
in.
board. Yeah, they should have had the whatever bros, and they come in and they start something. Even if they didn't start something, go work with the AKAs to see how they did it and start the process, because it strengthened numbers. And most likely with those AKAs and the way they do their situation, they'll have a lot of influence, especially within the election as well. You have dollars backing behind what you're saying and
they
bringing
back the VP.
Things to forefront.
Because they back the VP.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get black men to actually understand that in this space, though. They don't believe in that. Listen, if you go back to Manosphere live streams, whether it's Art New Stalls or BGS streams, I was talking about that years ago. Okay, all these military veterans in this space, and we don't have one black military industrial complex company like Halliburton. How come?
Bro, that now Mike, I'm not even gonna bullshit you. Mike been talking about that shit.
I was saying that in 2017.
Like it's been,
So this is not something new. Like Low End Theory says in the chat. But what's done is done. He put it out there every 2 weeks. Y'all talk about the same subject. That's not actually not true. That's actually not true. No, don't delete his comments. Just let him.
Okay. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, look, let him say what he's saying. I'm saying any sort of pushback is seen as regurgitating and hating and so on and so forth. I'm not saying that Low End Theory is saying that. I'm saying his critique of what I'm saying and saying that I lack the substance. I'm giving you all the substance that you could possibly have. What else?
I mean, in lieu of literally reading this right here, Mike, what more substance could you provide?
This is Cube's plan. You see, the problem is they didn't even read it themselves, but they want to back him. But they can't stand the Democrats because the Democrats are too leftist. While looking at this leftist document and saying we get behind Cube. Yo, you can't make this up. You can't make this up. That 20% is number 4 and number 13. There was no way they was going to be able to legislate this. They can't legislate it. It's just impossible. But let them tell the story. Dems are hating on Q. Like Rome said earlier, you know, they dropped the ball from an optics perspective with Q. How do you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said from the get-go, I mean, he should have just been the face of this to get it jumped off and to have people to come in to actually represent it with the knowledge and everything. Because obviously Cube was just nothing more than an entertainer. And with him saying that he sat home and thought this was stuff was going on, dude, you was in NWA. You knew about this stuff a long time ago. So it's not something that just dropped off. And it wasn't like Q was no street hood dude. Like he hung in the hood. Like the dude was educated, went to a different school than all them. Yeah. He was the one doing the writing and all some other stuff too. So when he left the group, he saw it better than them because he wasn't about that life or was in that life. But at the same time, you know, this situation is a good way to revamp his career by coming in on a political stand. But I mean, I keep going back to it. If there was no harm, no foul, Biden still should have sat down and just told him everything that you present to me has already been done. We can't do this and that.
That's what they told him. That's what they told him, Sheed. That was already told to him.
Yeah.
That was already told to him.
But that's the appeal of Q, I'll say real quickly, is that he's playing on that rapper image and he's playing that to black men. And that's what his appeal is. That's what it is. Like when you start asking people about politics or his policies, that's what it really is. Like, I think Alonzo, you said it, people vote from emotions. They also vote for caricatures of people and people they feel like they'd identify with.
Yeah, Renaissance, man, when you have whole master teachers, right, kind of voting on emotion, we're going to have to talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean, L. Ron Hubbard put out a series on emotion, you know? A lot of Scientology, I've actually taken some of those Scientology courses. He puts them out on things like emotion, emotional selling, et cetera, et cetera. That's exactly what, the politicians do, which is, if you even look at the fact that Q didn't bother to look at what was in the writ, right? That likely implies he understands, just like, Tom Brady and Mr. Wonderful with FTX. Hey, I'm getting paid. This is a publicity stunt. It's going to bring some attention to me, which I need because career, celebrity, what have you, right? And at the end of the day, it will, worst case scenario, bring the attention of more Black people. So maybe the end result is, in order to make an omelet, you have to break a few eggs. So in order to get that started, fuck it. I know I'm Ice Cube. I know I don't know shit about politics. And I know a lot of Black men don't know shit about politics, but we seem to have this lemming mentality where we enjoy following. So let me at least lead us somewhere, and maybe you'll have people like the Black Brain Trust who go, hey, let's not just jump off the cliff. Let's take a look at this. And maybe there will be another me who will have the wherewithal to tell folks, hey, let's listen to Mike V and actually take a look at this. This 80% we already got. This 20% ain't possible, period. So let's revamp some things and ask for something that we can change. And then we can look at, the experts and ask for their guidance in that.
Yeah, and I was going to say, to the point of even people of quote emotion, I mean, that all human beings to a certain extent will make decisions based on emotions. So, I mean, going back to a business example, this is one of the reasons that, people don't realize as you move up the business ladder, like storytelling and things like that, laced in with your facts, that becomes very important and essential, especially if you're talking about like pitching a company or something or selling the vision. Like people respond to stories. So, I mean, some of it is understandable, but you have to have something in check that brings it back to, hey, what are my goals and objectives here? And what are we trying to get? And that's the other thing. I mean, we have this agenda that's put out, the 17-point agenda, but outside of that, I mean, I think a lot of people, if you quest a lot of Black men, a lot of these people, I'm not sure a lot of them even know if they really want, to be honest with you, because they're all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about that. We got Citizen Lou on the panel, man. What's going on, bro? What it do, Lou?
What's up? What's up, Mike? What's going on, man?
Chilling, bro.
What's up, man?
What's up, Lou?
What's up, brother Lou? What it do?
What's up,
going on?
What's up, Flavor and stuff? Salute everybody, man. Listen, this more buffoonery, man. I saw that video, man. I saw that stream. I didn't even click on it because I just knew what it was. I mean, I'm not finna, bro. This when you put up that platinum plan or whatever it is, agenda for Black people. When you put that up, I mean, none of that's gonna fly. I mean, what are these dudes talking about? Talking about some I stand with Ice Cube. Now I guess they forgot what Malcolm X said about, Black people always worrying about entertainers and comedians and jesters and clowns. Like, what are we doing? Just like Alonzo was saying, Ice Cube didn't even live that life like that. He was playing a character. So you can't even take Ice Cube serious. I wanted to tell you about this. I was talking to my dad the other day, right? We were chopping it up, and I told him about the Ice Cube plan. He had no idea what I was talking about. Absolutely nothing. He was like, "What? Ice Cube did what? I didn't know anything about that." So that just kind of shows you just how I use him as like a litmus test a lot of times because it just shows just how little impact this Ice Cube. This is only they're just using this as like some type of battering ram or troll type hammer to keep using it over and over again because, like you said, they're not pulling up the plan at all. They're not breaking it down point by point because if they were, they would have some type of political strategy to be like, you know what, maybe this ain't gonna fly now. We see this Supreme Court, we see the landscape, the political climate. Oh, ain't nobody really trying to see any of these agendas for strictly Black people, but now they're just gonna keep saying Ice Cube, Ice Cube, Ice Cube. I stand with Ice Cube. All this other ridiculous goofiness, just complete blackmail buffoonery. And yes, like you said, it is a fascist way of dealing with stuff. No real governance, no realism, reality. Just nonsense.
But the thing here is we get critique, right? Or me personally, I get critique according to them every 2 weeks. I'm talking about it. But when these other guys are promoting it, they don't get critiqued at all. That's the leaning into fascism that I'm talking about. Like they don't believe the manosphere is a democracy at all. They don't believe in that.
Well, remember, Mike, you also don't mention enough Keisha. See, if you started mentioning more Keisha, then you would be able to be taken more seriously. Keisha runs the world. Complex, we know this. It's not the Lloyds of London. Us speaking to the Lloyds of London pales in comparison to Keisha.
Let me answer Wacky World of O's comment. He probably left already, but he says, Mike V, do you think that Ice Cube had the right intentions when he created Contract of Black America? First of all, he didn't write it. So he had Derek Hamilton and quite a few people write that document. I think Cube I think on the surface, I think Cube wants something done, but doesn't know how to go about it at the deeper level. And he's not. I don't want to say he's wrong for having a contract with Black America, but what I don't like is the grifting or the potential for a grift off of the contract, because what you're seeing in the manosphere is guys, and not even just in the manosphere, but black social media, the people who like Cube are leeching onto the contract of Black America, but like the Congressional Black Caucus said, 80% of that was already done by us in the first place. And so you don't like Congressional Black Caucus because you don't think that they're doing anything, but then you support Ice Cube and Contract of Black America for something that Congressional Black Caucus has already proposed and has already pushed.
Mike, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you have taken the Contract of Black America more seriously? And I'm going to narrow this down more specifically to, let's just say, this manosphere space where brothers are getting behind Cube, right? And, kind of speaking to this Cube effect. Would you say that the Cube effect would have actually more effect if, say, that contract included, I don't know, maybe that 17-point agenda and the Great Faulkner Initiative?
Maybe. I think that would be a fusion that would be interesting to see.
Well, because I'm just meandering over here, right?
I think when it comes to the manosphere, and I've talked about this before, one stream, I forget which one it was, there was like 600 plus people in the stream. I said, what if you had all 600, and most of them are Black men anyways, talking about Keisha, like Alonzo said. Yeah. What if every one of those Black men put up $1,000 for a pack?
Yeah.
What if they did that?
Yeah.
Well, these boys ain't serious, Mike.
Yeah, but they'll put up money, $5 here, super sticker there. Yo, fam, yo, man, I just can't stand, man. Whenever her wig, man, with Meg Thee Stallion, man, Tory Lanez, man, that ain't right, man. They'll put up money for that, but they won't put up money where it matters. And so what if those 600 men put up $1,000 each and said, we're going to create a mini pack?
I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Or
if everybody's
supposed Cube's face.
Because if everybody's balling in the space, right? Everybody's supposedly in STEM, everybody's making it. They done went to, Manosphere Conference and met up with, and did all of these things. How come no one's talking about the bread? Because I heard a lot of people was talking about giving out tips to waitresses because she was giving choosy signals.
What?
Man, what?
Oh,
what,
man.
At the Waffle House? At the Waffle House?
Man, what?
Oh, you ain't see? You ain't know about that, Lou?
I ain't know.
I'm not even surprised, Mike, to be honest. I don't know why I said like I'm surprised.
Guys out there throwing 20s on the table, man, for breakfast or whatever it was, or brunch or whatever it was, man, because the waitress was showing choosy signers. But I'm not knocking them.
Mike,
Mike, you see how she put them eggs over easy, fam?
and Mike, I gotta
yeah, these brothers are terrible.
Man, y'all crazy. Hey, Mike, you know another funny thing too, what you made a point about, right? So this is actually throughout Black YouTube, right? Like like Black, I say this all the time. Like I'm in the sports sphere too, stuff like that. I countless streams I can point to where we'll be talking about, it'll be about sports, right? Then they start getting into this Black conservative bullshit. They start getting into this Trump shit. Oh man, we'd be living good if it wasn't for y'all. We should have voted. They'll start engaging, right? And me, and then maybe another brother hit the panel, and we'll start, speaking, politics from whatever the leftist side. Then it just turns into just a stormtrooper type shit. Start turning into Proud Boys. You can't even finish a statement, and it's all type of bombastic, loud shit. They don't even want to let you finish what you got to say. It's throughout Black YouTube. It's a fascist regime. It's kind of crazy. And I don't even understand like where all this heat's coming from. Like they don't even vote. You know, you ask them what's the last, like I asked them, what's your last ballot look like? What was on it? Can't even tell me. Last time they voted, probably Obama.
Let's look up Indiana's ballot. Let me see, 2022. Indiana ballot initiatives or ballot measures. Okay. Let's look this up. Oh, they're not letting me see this? Don't they have a midterm 2022?
Yeah, I'll quickly say while you're doing that too, Mike, on the Ice Cube thing. I'm a little bit more harsh in my critique only because, like, you know, this kind of became a theme amongst these entertainers when you looked at like Kanye West, you know, 50 Cent, people like that around that time of, you know, outright being hostile to Biden, or, you know, guys sort of playing like, you know, trying to hide the hand a little bit in the sense of, hey, I don't want to come out and say I'm a Trump supporter, so I'm gonna sit up here and just kind of criticize Democrats all day. You even see that a lot with the ADOS movement and the reparations movement with that, well, at least not with all people, but with, you know, what came out of the ADOS movement. So I'm a little bit more skeptical on Q because of the timing. You know, he did support Trump, I think, the first time around. So I think some of these guys do lean into, you know, some of that fascistic fascism of Trump, coupled with, you know, Cube is a multimillionaire. Let's not forget that. That's the other thing people have to realize, is that, you know, some of this is just a play on his own personal interest as well.
And see, Renaissance, that's a great point, because I mean, it's just crazy because they can't really stand on Trump. What they don't realize is that the Republicans and the fascists, they want you to be ineffective. They want you writing Harambe and scribbling in stupid stuff on your ballot, because you're ineffective. You're not a threat. So this, like you said, by this troll voting, these troll ballots.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. This is actually a part that they are for the fascists. They act like, oh, I ain't no Trump supporter. I'm voting. I'm voting for Kanye. I'm voting for Dr. Dre.
Dude,
you know, stupid.
They said they're voting for Cornel West, and dude, he's fucking Marxist.
Yeah. No, like that's the thing, is that if you say that, you don't get the backlash that, you know, you're going to get if you're a Trump supporter. So if I just badge Dems all day, you know, I can sort of hide my support for, instead of just coming out and saying it. I mean, and saying, hey, you know, I'm a business owner, or, you know, I've got hundreds of millions of dollars and this is not the best for my situation. You know, Alonzo, at least you came out and said that of your support for Romney, of, hey, you know, I make a lot of money and, you know, that would have benefited my business. You know, some people really just don't want to say that.
No, but you know, Renaissance, I mean, look, I mean, that's been one of the main things that even we've kind of pushed here is to make sure that you align properly, right, with a political party that suits your interests, and you have to have interests. I'm a registered independent, but I'm going to tell you right now, for anything and all things EV and micromobility and stuff like that, guess who's typically got bills on deck for that? Mike and I have done numerous live streams about this, Dems. Right? So the interests are aligned. So that's where we voted, because that's where the money comes in. At least we're trying to get as much of the money as we can. We're still a startup here, but you know, we're moving, and it's work. But who's putting things on deck to make it easier for us to do this, right? You got to go with who's actually good for business, who's good for the money.
In reality, it's not only one person. You know, Jamal.
Well, that's
Bowman,
why it's dangerous to vote down ballot.
Say that one more time.
I said that's why it's dangerous to just vote down ballot.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what a lot of these guys, a lot of people in general are, is just down ballot. Okay, I like the Republican president. Everybody that is Republican is on the same wave as him, so I'm gonna just vote this ticket. You know, and that they may be absolutely wrong. The people that are local to you may want to actually enslave you, and you just voted for them because you like Trump. And, you know, that's what happens. I'm sorry to cut you off, Mike.
Well, I was going to say, quickly too, Mike, like with the whole angle of that, like, I think with the other thing, people not being honest is that, you know, you can't really put and I think even Killer Mike falls victim to this as well, is that, you know, these guys who try to play this, well, you know, let's go to the other side, or, you know, both sides are bad type of angle. if you really reveal your true interests, like you undermine the very power that you have in the sense of nobody's really talking to these guys because there are plenty of people who have more wealth than an Ice Cube or Killer Mike. You know, their ability is to have influence in the community. And if you just come out and say, hey, you know, I'm voting for this because, you know, it'll benefit me and no one else, then you lose your cachet of what, you know, you really have in the first place in the political arena as any sort of currency. Because nobody, I mean, no one's going to look to, you know, these people just for their finances, because there are plenty of people who have a lot more. Their cachet is their influence.
Right.
Well, here's the 2022 ballot results, right? So abortion and healthcare. California, Proposition 1, right to abortion. Kentucky, Amendment 2, remove right to abortion. You know, right to abortion for Michigan, required care for infants born alive. You know, I can keep going down the list, but I'm not really seeing where Black men's interests are in these areas. When Black men say vote your interests, well, okay, where are your interests on the ballot? Increase voter ID requirements. Are Black men really concerned in this space about that? I don't know.
They said they're not even trying to vote, Mike. Why would they be concerned about that?
Yeah. Connecticut, amendment in-person early voting. Okay, authorizes the state to offer in-person early voting. 60% said yes. Michigan, proposal 2, expand voting access. Nevada, question 3, top 5 primaries and ranked choice voting. So when Black men say they're voting, you know, they're voting their interest, but where's the interest on the ballot? Because this is across the country. Limit voting for non-citizens in Ohio.
Hey, where's LGBTQ and family structure?
Yeah,
well, I don't see it.
I'm still looking for it. Iowa amendment.
Wait, I see marijuana though.
Yeah, right to keep. Yeah, right to keep and bear arms. Oregon, increase gun ownership requirements. Arkansas, legalize marijuana. Maryland, legalize marijuana.
Legalize the weeds.
Yeah, Missouri,
The
legalize marijuana.
weed.
Yeah, and you know what's funny
about
that? Mississippi actually passed it, right? And then they did some fugazi stuff with the state constitution and retrofit. It was kind of crazy. It was kind of disgusting. It was the biggest display of fascism in America. But yeah, it's crazy. One of the biggest as of recent years. They redid the whole constitution. It was some type of formality or something.
Oh
no, that don't apply to Black men. Black men are rich in this space. They don't care about minimum wage. They scoff at that.
Yeah, I mean, the only Black man that lives in Nevada, anyways, is probably Shaka Nulu.
Keep it techie live there too.
Oh, I thought he lived in San Diego. Okay.
No, he in Vegas.
Yeah.
We over here. We are blowing up his spot right now, man.
Yeah.
Legalized sports betting. Oh man, it's because FanDuel is not available in Cali. So
what?
No, it's not.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not legal. It's not legal here.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. So and they hit no.
Yeah. That's it. That was on the ballot. Where are Black men's interests?
That's literally it, Mike.
Yeah,
I've literally never heard a Black.
Holy shit!
Wow, you don't even hear these topics. Except maybe abortion, but they think Roe v. Wade is the catch-all situation. So,
well, yeah, if you live in South Carolina and you're a lunatic that's always ranting and raving about 30 million abortions a year or something like that, or over a lifetime, like
right,
that other guy. Yeah, I guess that would be of your interest, but not really, because you don't live in that state. And so I'm not saying
that's a form of fascism too, by the way. Just getting that out. That's like trying to, making women have babies and stuff like that. That's kind of another form, but that's another discussion.
But that's where we're at. That's what's on the ballot in the midterm. So when you hear anyone say that Black men are voting their interests, show me where your interests are on the ballot. Show
Yeah,
me
I
where it
would I
is.
would love to see if they're all pro weed, because we've done plenty of cannabis live streams. If you guys haven't checked them out, please do. But as far as the other stuff you were showing, I was like, wait, that's it? That's all?
Yeah, none of that seems like any of the issues that you know, even on a smaller scale, Mike, you were talking about the 600 men donating $1,000
to a
so
to a pack.
To a pack, right? To a mini pack.
Yep.
Right now,
not a Tupac.
Or a 6-pack or a 30-pack, right?
Yeah.
But there was an actual content creator from the space who is a PhD holder. I'm not going to mention his name. Who had another? Sorry. Who had another gentleman,
dude. Go ahead.
and they were going to do a documentary. So this particular content creator has at least 5,000 confirmed followers or subscribers, what have you. So yeah, I say, listen, can everybody donate $10? Right? So I have a goal of $50,000. I've got a guy from this space who wants to do a documentary so we can kind of do an indie film about our issues. So even on the scale where you're talking about $10 to say, hey man, I hate them orange red wearing Ronald McDonald looking chicks with butterfly eyelashes. $10. But yet you couldn't even get a quarter of the way in donations for something that literally was of your interest. So I can understand why, again, nobody would take Ice Cube serious.
Nagone, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I got a lot of thoughts, man. But I'm just listening to this conversation here right now, just kind of listening in. You know where I'm coming from. I'm very much a ground floor kind of grassroots, guy. So and look very much at the process. So when I see a lack of that, lack of process, I don't buy any of it. So when I see this guy running around, just trying to run off the top, not really laying the game down the way it needs to be. I'm just, I don't take it. I don't, you already know my position. I don't take much of this seriously at all. But I'm just listening to some of the debate here because I really like what I'm listening to. Some of the stuff is actually kind of funny. But that's where I'm coming from. I keep it very simple. Where I'm coming from on this.
Yes, you are very familiar with New York politics or tri-state for that matter, and so I rely on your perspective on that. But I think I don't. Enough for the record, I don't have anything with anybody having a PhD, and I don't have any grievances with PhDs. I just have a grievance with the people who hide behind PhDs. That's the quote unquote Ice Cube effect that I don't like.
Fair enough. I mean, I can mention a brother's name. I just didn't want to.
I mean, it's not really necessary because it's not really germane to that part of the discussion. What the problem here is that they want everybody else to do something for them while they do nothing. And that's where I have a problem, because you can't say, oh, my masculinity this and and beat your chest and all that, and then be like, serve me some cream of wheat without the lumps. Nah, man, go get your own cream of wheat, man. What are you talking about? Why aren't we talking about in this space? Why aren't we talking about really organizing at the ground level? What's the problem? Nobody went out there and backed all these black men the last midterm to get into office, whether it's Charles Booker, whether it's Gary Chambers or Mandela Barnes. Guys didn't really come out for that. These were all black men. So if black men aren't supporting black men at the ground level, then why would you think that going up to the president would, elicit some kind of radical change? How would that make any sense?
It wouldn't. So, question,
Yes,
because I think that's one of the major issues. For example, a person such as myself figured that initially spaces like these were even if it is the beginnings of those grassroots happenings. And I think at some level or some degree that those things happening, even if it's business formations behind the scenes, those things take time, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. So I understand that those things are happening. But when I first stumbled upon the space as a whole, that's what I was this is kind of what I was expecting to run into or hoping to run into. And I think what the gripe is from this space and where a lot of those guys are mad at you or saying you're hating is because guys like me are like, no, I want what Mike is doing. Like, I don't give a fuck about Keisha. I'm married. Right? So
there you go.
Like, I care about the world and shit that's gonna happen with my kids and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing too, Mike, on your PhDs point, I will point out that, yeah, there's no problem with PhDs, but you also need to look at where PhDs expertise is. Like, if you're going to really highlight, hey, I'm a PhD and therefore you need to listen to me, if you're going to talk politics and you really want to be taken seriously, political science, economics, public policy, law, not necessarily a PhD in law, but, a lawyer, like, those disciplines that make sense and tie to the area of politics are what people need to be really emphasizing. And that's another thing that I sort of see is that, guys will just say, oh, I'm a PhD. Well, if you're a PhD in, biology or something like that, like, yeah, I definitely want to hear you talk about, whether it be COVID or things like that, or, just health related issues in general. But, it's saying just I'm a PhD and, therefore listen to me, go and talk about, politics, it doesn't really add up.
I agree.
Lou, you got anything on that?
Oh no, about the PhDs? Yeah, I mean, you shutting it down, Mike?
Oh no, I'm just going around the table before we
Oh no, he's right though. Yeah, like this I'm a PhD. You got it in gender studies or some. I mean, just some. I mean, like it's a badge where you can be in any. You're what they call it the crew. What's that called? The Dunning-Kruger effect. Is that what it's called?
Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger. Now well, was it Kruger done? Like when you got like you're expert on every topic and you're really not at all. You see that a lot. You see a lot of that in the space. You got gun experts, political experts, sports experts, law experts, and then But no, I agree with Renaissance on that. Yeah, these. Yeah, I don't necessarily have anything against a PhD either. It's just these PhDs just don't have any real value in this space. Really, I don't see that much value in it.
Not in the last 3 years.
Well, the other thing is too is when you deal with people who are very smart, very intelligent, one of the things you kind of realize a lot of the times, not all the time, but people who tend to be like really who tend to be, I guess, not even smart may not be the right word, accomplished. One of the things you learn as you gain more accomplishment is you realize like you know what you know, but you also realize you don't know what you don't know. Because part of the things of as you learn more and you gain more information, you realize, hey, I thought I knew a lot of stuff, and then it's like, as you gain more, you're kind of like, oh wow, there's so much out there I don't know, and that's just in one discipline. So if you start talking about people talking about things across multiple disciplines, like you said, Lou, Dunning-Kruger effect, it doesn't really strike of people who really, I think, really get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's 100% fact. Yeah, this Ice Cube thing is just getting. It ain't never gonna die. I thought it was gonna be over with, but
no, I mean it was brought up tonight. But you know, we're the bad guys for critiquing it, but the other guys who promote it, man, they're the good guys. You know, I don't get it. I can't square the circle on it.
And Mike, the other thing too is it's funny how this went quiet for about 2 or 3 years. You know, next presidential cycle is kicking up. Now all of a sudden people are talking about Ice Cube again, and everyone's talking about Democrats aren't doing anything. That's why I'm very critical of these things, because things like George Floyd policing bill or things like Black Voters Matter, those organizations, those didn't stop when the elections were over. Like, those are things that are constantly, working, whether it be to push legislation, fight back against, rollback of legislation. And it's like, okay, every 4 years, a few talking points come up, and let's see how we can, get Black folks distracted is what it feels like.
Quick question. So Renaissance, you said something that kind of gave me a brief epiphany here. Not sure what year it was that Eazy-E was walking through the White House, Jerry curl juice dripping, right? But since the Reagan era, one of those rappers has been there to be a face, at least to soothe Black folk, to say, hey, even the worst of you is able to stand amongst us. So see, we're caring about you. This guy that says fuck the police is able to be invited to the White House. And since Eric Wright is dead, you have to use somebody. So why not his literal running mate, Ice Cube? And for the literal political engine. It's just a theory.
Well, maybe that's why they lean into fascism, because he uses no Vaseline.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Oh, damn.
That's how these Black conservatives. That's how they be operating.
Yeah. Dr. Thunder's in the chat. You're welcome to come on the panel, Dr. Thunder, if you would like to. Yeah, but my closing thoughts on this is basically that I have no problem with PhDs. I have no problem with Ice Cube as an artist. I just have a problem with people who promote Ice Cube as the as the face of Black male independence, when in reality he's not all that independent from what he's doing right now. The idea of going up to the White House or going to the president or go to a presidential candidate to shop a Black initiative when they themselves have basically been blocking Black initiatives all this time, I find that to be very dubious at best. And so the Ice Cube effect, I think it's I think it's more about Black male cowardice, if not more Black male neo-fascism, leaning into fascism. This sort of perspective that, we don't have to follow any rules or guidelines or structures or anything. We just do whatever we want, and you better back it up or else. No, I'm not down with that.
Like AB was talking about yesterday, saying Democrats need to just break the rules and push reparations through there somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, how is that going to work? I mean, like, you're just going to ignore court orders at this point? I don't get, hey, just break the rules, and like it just you can't just push legislation through that's going to get funded and just break. I mean, Trump couldn't even do that, but Democrats are going to somehow do it.
You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot of just babbling and nonsense, bro. It's kind of a waste of time. Like they just don't.
No, it is a waste. It is because like I said, I think you hit on it earlier, Mike. The thing that's most like discouraging in all this is that there are actually Black men in political positions or running for them who need their support, and you don't give it to them. But Ice Cube comes out with a 2-page platinum plan, a month or two before the election, and he comes to the forefront of representing Black men, and it's like no one's really talking about a governor of Maryland Westmore or a Gary Chambers or a Charles Booker. These people either in office or run for office.
Mandela Barnes.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Gilchrist out in Michigan, first Black man to be lieutenant governor of Michigan, and came out of Microsoft. He's a tech guy. He's an IT guy.
Yeah, or Marcus Flowers down there was trying to run up and take Marjorie Taylor Greene out of office.
Malcolm
Jamie
Kenyatta
Harrison
out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Jamie Harrison was trying to take down Lindsey Graham. Even down, this happened a few years ago down your way, near your way, Lou. Mike Espy down in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the part that just is not even adding up.
Anybody else have any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
No. I mean, another good, another good stream. Nice chopping up with y'all. Man, listen, I just, we might have to look more into like fascism. We might have to just actually start, because a lot of people don't understand what it is. This black male political apathy and rogue, just renegadism, where they just saying these conspiracy theorists. I mean, it's just, the black male demographic in America is just like, the ones that don't vote. I'm gonna be honest, I had to take the MOT approach. Where do you live? I'm never going there. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just never gonna interact with you at all. Because they literally just be saying just the craziest stuff, bro. Talking about suing corporations for hiring black women and bring back, you know what I'm saying? Like these 6-month abortion bans, but then when it comes to actually holding Republicans accountable, all the egregious and foul stuff they got going on, you don't hear a peep. It's like like I said, man, it's like they're not allowed, they're not authorized to speak at all when it comes to right-wing Republican nonsense. Because they got a lot of nonsense going on over there. And another thing they really don't ever talk about, the outright hostility from these, like, because they have co-opted the right-wing trolls. You see it on Twitter, like they're a MAGA movement. So they can barely even interact with those people, right? All they're allowed to do is just go in on black people all day. They can't even interact and or how do you say it, like converse and congregate with these right-wing white boy trolls. They can't do it. So the only thing they can do is troll the left, act like you're gonna vote for somebody, and say you're gonna scribble in Harambe and all this other Dr. Dre and you know what I'm saying, Young Jeezy, all this stupid shit. And whoever wins, you just feel like you didn't do shit, right? You didn't vote for either side. You just felt like you on some Heath Ledger Joker types. Just want to see the world burn. Outright fascism. But all right, man. Salute to y'all. Y'all have a good one, man.
Yes, sir, Lou. Have a good one, man. It's interesting that Lou brings that up, right? That fascism point again. Fred Hampton, before he died, I think in his last speech, he talked about the Negro Hitler. We can't be having no Negro Hitlers running around in the community. That's remember he said that, right? In one of his last speeches.
Negro imperialist.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Not, and it's to Lou's point on the political thing as well too. You want to look at another historic figure. Carter G. Woodson talked about in the miseducation of the Negro. The neglect of politics. So to his point, it's pretty disappointing. Hearing that book written, over 150 years ago, and you still have black men with who just don't see the value in politics, and it's been a historic issue. And listening to these guys, you still see that people really haven't learned their lesson or decided to make progress in this area, and it's problematic.
Yeah. Complex. Any closing thoughts? All right. Thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button on the way out and